You are welcome back. We want to look at the final stage of the lesson. And as I indicated earlier, we are talking about advantages of the two types of motivation. We begin with intrinsic motivation and its advantages. We said that intrinsic motivation is motivation that comes from within the individual. So the first advantage is that its use has a more lasting effect on pupils even after completing a course of study. So when you are intrinsically motivated, it lasts longer. Even if after the course of the study, you still remember and you keep on being motivated. Even though you have completed a course, it still lingers in the individual. 2, people learn on their own, even when not in school. People who are intrinsically motivated, when they are even not on school, it becomes part of the individual. So whatever he is doing in terms of learning, in terms of classroom work, even after completing school, even when he is not in school, he keeps on learning. 3, it encourages greater independence in learning because the learner sees the value of learning. Intrinsic motivation helps the individual to see the value of learning, the importance, benefits that the individual can get from learning. So it encourages the individual to be self-independent without relying on others. Nobody will have to motivate you, but you are motivating your own self to learn. Those who are intrinsically motivated are more committed and enjoy their activities more and are more persistent in the face of failure. Throughout our lives, we are bound to make mistakes. We are bound to fail. So people who are intrinsically motivated, if even they fail, they will continue to do whatever is expected of them until they achieve their goals. So people who are intrinsically motivated, they will continue to do more. When they fail, they see it as a lesson and they will continue to do more. Now, what can we do as teachers to ensure that students are intrinsically motivated? So we are talking about techniques that can be used in the classroom to ensure that students are intrinsically motivated. 1, orderly and systematic presentation of our lesson. We need to organize our lessons in a systematic order. And when the lessons are organized, are arranged in a more systematic order, students find it easier to learn on their own without any difficulty. And then 2, citing relevant examples to support semantic knowledge. Citing relevant examples to support our teaching. So in using or ensuring that students are motivated intrinsically, we need to cite relevant examples in whatever we are teaching. We need to cite practical examples so that learners will have the joy in learning on their own. We also need to present students with surprising or novel stimulus. We need to stimulate the learners. We need to always come out with surprising things so that students will enjoy our lesson. We come out with something new. By nature, people get attracted to things that are new. So there is something in teaching we call novelty, introducing something new. So when we come out with something new, people begin to enjoy that and they will continue to learn on their own. Again, we are expected to also provide details about relevance of the piece of learning task for future use. So whatever the learners are doing, we need to give details. We need to be as clear as possible so that they know exactly what is expected of them. And when we do that, it encourages the students to learn on their own. We also need to build new learning tasks on what the students have learned previously. Here we are talking about the importance of relevant previous knowledge. So you base new tasks on what the students know. And when they do that, it becomes much easier for them to learn. On that note, we end intrinsic motivation. So these are some of the things we can do as far as intrinsic motivation is concerned. Now we move on to look at advantages of extrinsic motivation. I hope we have shared the slides with you. And when you go through, you will get to know some advantages and some disadvantages of extrinsic motivation. I would like to mention a few of them so that we wind up our lessons. Advantages of extrinsic motivation. One of the extrinsic motivation is the giving of rewards. So when teachers are using reward as extrinsic motivation, it helps in the moral aspects of education as in punishment. What I'm trying to mean here is that it is more important. In psychology, we prefer to use more of rewards than using punishment. So when we use rewards, they are very, very essential, and they help to change the students' attitude for the better. It also helps to change the students' moral behavior for the better. So in psychology, we hammer on the strength of the learner rather than the weakness of learner. So it is more possible, it is more advisable, so to speak, to use more of rewards rather than using punishment. So as a way of motivating the learners extrinsically, we are expected to use more of rewards rather than using punishment. We are also talking about the fact that extrinsic rewards or extrinsic motivation, they are more effective with younger people who are not influenced or impressed by the long-term value of what they learn. They are very, very good for younger ones because they know when they do this, at the end of the day, they will be given that. So when we do that, it helps the individuals to do more, particularly when they are kids. So we relate this to the basic school classroom. When we go to the basic school, we need to use more of extrinsic motivation. And when you do that, the students will try to conform, they will learn in the classroom. Now, these are ways by which we can ensure that students are motivated extrinsically. These are ways we can ensure. But before then, we want to look at the disadvantages, some few disadvantages of extrinsic. We have shared the slides with you, and we expect that you'll read the slides on your own. It provides unhealthy, one of the disadvantages of extrinsic motivation is that it provides unhealthy competition, leading to anxiety and antisocial practices, such as stealing and cheating in exams. So when students know that when they do well, they will be rewarded. They will be given material things. They find dubious means, any dubious means available to get those items. So at the end of the day, it doesn't promote healthy competition among them, but rather it promotes unhealthy competition among the learners. Making people to learn by using tangible rewards is morally unacceptable. We want to emphasize on something that comes from within. The individual knowing what is good and what is bad so that he conforms to them, rather than doing it because of material gains. Absence of the tangible rewards results into people's not making efforts to learn. So when the rewards are not there, the student ceases to learn. But that is not what we are encouraging. So you look at these disadvantages. Though at certain point in time, extrinsic motivation may help the student, but we want to encourage more of intrinsic motivation. But we can also use extrinsic motivation as a means of achieving intrinsic motivation. Now we move on to how we can motivate the students extrinsically. What are some of the things we can use to motivate students extrinsically? One, using verbal praise. When the students do something and it is acceptable, we can praise them. Oh, you have done well. But one thing about verbal praise is that our praises should not be monotonous. Variety, they say, is the spice of life. So it is acceptable or it's advisable that at a point in time, we need to change the way. We cannot use clap for him, clap for him, clap for him, clap for him. If even a lady answers question right, clap for him. No. Sometimes we need to change the way we use verbal praise. Using test grades and remarks judiciously. When students do well in exercises, we need to mark, we need to give them feedback. And when we give them feedback, we need to sometimes give some comments. Very good, excellent, and all those things. But we are also advised not to use too many derogatory remarks. Jimmy, Kasia, poor, very, very poor. No, we need to use these remarks judiciously as stated. Then motivation contracts. We also need to use motivation contracts. If you do this well, I will give you this, I will do that, so that it becomes some kind of contract. And when we use that, students will automatically do well. And then finally, we can also use token economy, something like toffees, something like biscuits and other things in the classroom. These are ways by which we can motivate the students in the course of teaching and learning. Good people, so fellow students, we have looked at motivation this morning. We have gone through what we mean by motivation. We have also talked about different types of motivation. We have talked about advantages of intrinsic motivation. We have talked about how we can motivate the students to learn. We have also looked at extrinsic motivation, its advantages and its disadvantages. We have as well looked at how we can motivate our students extrinsically to learn. Now we wind up with the educational implications of motivation, be it extrinsic or intrinsic motivation. What are the educational implications? What are the educational implications? If you are a teacher and you are using motivation, what are the implications of that? I will leave that to you so that on your own you go through the slides, because we don't have much time. You go through the slides and you look at the educational implication. How will that benefit you as a teacher when you go to the classroom? If you use these means, if you understand motivation, if you know how you can motivate your students, be it extrinsic or intrinsic, how will that benefit you? What are the benefits of that to you as a classroom teacher? I hope we have uploaded the slides for you, so you go through and you look at the educational implications of motivation. On that note, we wind up our lesson 10, and as we go, we are moving, from next academic year, we are moving to the specialisms. We have some people who are offering early grade, others are doing primary school education, others are on the JHS program, the specialism. At our next lesson, that will be the final lesson, for the semester, we shall be looking at the characteristics, the features of teachers in these three specialisms. What are the characteristics of an early grade teacher? What are the characteristics that need to be exhibited by a upper primary class teacher? And what are the characteristics or features that need to be exhibited by a JHS teacher? These are the things I want you to look out for. Remember, go back to your primary school day. Look at your KG, madam. What are some of the characteristics that you show? You are primary school teacher. Be thinking about that. And then when we meet next time, we shall be discussing the characteristics of this teacher. In the meantime, we will upload some questions for you to answer on advantages, disadvantages, and then what can you do as a basic teacher to ensure that students are motivated to learn. Thank you very much for joining this class. We hope to meet next time. Thank you. Please keep on observing all the protocol. COVID-19 is real. Bye-bye.